I hope everyone is doing great today. I want to welcome you to my channel. Let's get right into it, guys. The NFL team that is formerly known as the Washington Redskins, they have decided on Monday to retire their logo and their nickname. Owner Dan Snyder did make a public statement on Monday saying that, hey, it's about, it's time to do that. It's time to retire the name, the logo, and just move on and come up with a new name, right? So just with a lot of public unrest and a lot of social justice that's been happening lately within the spring and the summer, we need to see a change. And I think that Dan Snyder did the right thing. It's been decades since they have been said, the team has been pressured to change the name, and they didn't move forward. They're like, we're not going to do it. And in 2013, Dan Snyder did come out and say he will never change the name, and you can put it in caps. So it's just to show you that money talks. So if there's pressure on the other side, when you have sponsors and shareholders saying, hey Dan, it's time to make a change, because there was no financial loss. Even though the team, as we all know, the Washington Redskins are really not a good team. The last time they were actually good on the football field, in my eyes, is when they had RG3 in his first season, where he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. But besides that, and I'm not trying to be biased because I'm a Giants fan and the Redskins, again, the formerly known Redskins are in my division. It's really not about that. I believe in energy as well too, right? So if you have a lot of groups that coming out and they're upset that you have that name that is racist and it's harmful, I believe that energy can come out to your team on the field. That's just my belief, guys. I don't know what you guys believe, but that's just me. So I think Dan Snyder finally did the right thing. This is a guy that he just didn't care. He didn't care who was against him, if it was players, if it was fans, if it was companies, people, outside groups, advocates. He just didn't want to change. He really stood his ground. One thing, you can respect it. You can respect someone to stand their ground, but at the other time too, to say, hey, you're wrong for standing on that ground, because it's very harmful to not just to, number one, Native Americans, but it's harmful just to other groups as well too, other ethnic backgrounds, because we're looking like, I don't care if you're black, Asian, Hispanic, when you're looking at, or white, when you look at it, like, that's kind of racist, right? So even players, former players have come out to say, you know what, they are happy that Dan Snyder finally, caved and changed the name. Now they can get rid of some old gear and buy some new gear, right? New jerseys and things like that, or memorabilia. So, Trump came out, President Trump, he just tweeted recently that when the name Washington Redskins was really known for strength, not weakness. Now with the change of their name and the Cleveland Indians, that's just to show you that, they caved, they changed the name because of a political stance and things like that. And Trump doesn't respect that. He doesn't respect when people change because of people being muscled. It's not about being muscled. It was wrong from the beginning. And this is a team that had that name for 87 consecutive seasons. They're the only team in sports history to have a name for 87 consecutive seasons, as the Washington Redskins did. And in 1971, a Native American, actually, which most guys you don't even know, back in 1971, a Native American is the one that came up with the logo, actually, that made the logo, on the helmet of the Redskins, right? So I want to see what the new name they come up with. I know that's going to happen soon, so I would love to see what the new name is going to be for the team. But another thing, guys, they're not going to change their colors of their jersey and helmet, which is burgundy and gold. They're going to keep that. They're just going to change the name. So and another thing I kind of heard about as well too, that I read and saw, was about almost 90 shareholders. They did write a letter with signatures to the sponsors of the NFL and the formerly known Washington Redskins, saying, hey, if they don't change their name, you guys should pull your sponsorship from them. And this was FedEx, this was Nike, and I think Bank of America as well too. And with all those signatures, and these shareholders are worth over half of $1 trillion. They were $620 billion, right? So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of cash. So, those sponsors put the pressure to the Washington team, and I know FedEx was one of them. They just signed a 25-year deal. No, it was a 27-year deal for $250 million with Washington. So they said, hey guys, if you don't change the name, we're pulling that, right? And just Nike and Bank of America, they put the pressure on the NFL as well too. And Dan Snyder just had a conversation, a talk with Roger Goodell within the last 2 weeks, where all the protests was happening. They spoke privately, and obviously it's never really private because now we all know about it, right? So they spoke privately about, do you think it's time to change the name? And that's a rhetorical question, because Roger Goodell was probably like, you should have did this years ago. So they had the conversation. So a lot came about with that conversation, and just the public unrest, and that's going back to the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis and Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. So the public is like, hold on. All of these names out there that's just racist and just giving either black people or Native American, whatever, a bad name, things need to change. And Dan Snyder, he just donated of $250,000. I know that seems like a lot of money, but to a billionaire, that's really not much. It was like a forum or a group to talk about racism. So he just donated that. So he looked like he's trying to do the right thing. But I kind of feel bad for the players, and the players and the former players that played for Washington. I could just imagine putting on a uniform, knowing that people hate your guts because you're wearing that racist, debacle of a uniform and a name. You're getting that pressure just from the people, and you're getting pressure to perform on the field. So that's a lot to deal with. You have to worry about the name of your team and to say, all right, let me get this tackle or this touchdown. That's a lot to do, right? So I know the players, they're pretty happy. I know Dwayne Haskins, the young quarterback, he's saying, hey, you know what, change is good. Let's move to the future. So he's looking forward to that. And the last thing I want to touch on too is with two things. I know the Native American advocate group, they came out and said, they were happy Washington has changed the name from the Redskins, because it's been decades that they've been dealing with emotional violence and just a lot of, stress and depression and just things like that. They were harmed a lot, with that name. And just being bullied and just racism being kicked to them, and they were like, this is the time. So they're happy about that, but that doesn't undo what happened for the last decades with them. So there were some advocates coming out in the Native American area that spoke up about that. And the last thing I want to touch on is the coach Ron Rivera, the new coach of the Washington team. See, I can't even say what name they're going to be, just Washington, right? So he came out as well too recently on the Chicago radio, and he spoke about the name change. And and this is a guy, guys, that is not into politics. He doesn't want to speak politics because he was a former player, and back then when he played, he just didn't want to speak up about politics. Even to this day, even as a coach, he said, you know what, I just want to coach, do a great job, but I don't want to touch on politics. There's a time and place for that. I don't want to mix the two together, but I do respect players and people and staff that do speak out against social justice and things like that in politics. So he respects that, but he didn't want to be the person to do that. So he's kind of like in the middle of it, like, damn, what do I say? And especially with being a new coach. And actually, guys, he has a lot of power within the organization. So Bruce Allen was actually fired, was it last year, from Dan Snyder? So you got Dan Snyder as the owner. Now with Ron Rivera running the helm, he's actually like second in power. He has the most power, besides Dan Snyder. So he had to say something, and he did. And again, he wants to move forward. He thinks a name change is the right thing to do. I know I said it was two things, but one more little thing. And Ron Rivera is actually one of 4 minority head coaches in the NFL. So I know you guys are probably thinking like, damn, only 4 minority head coaches from Hispanic or black. that's pretty sad. There's a lot of talented coaches out there that are African American or Hispanic that definitely need to be looked at. They're talented. I don't know why there's not more head coaches that are black. It's mind-boggling to me, maybe to you guys as well too, and they're being overlooked. And I think people need to speak up more about it. And I hate to have public pressure on the NFL to hire, good qualified coaches. I'm not all about that. So let's see what happens with that. But I just think I want to say that to you guys. 1 of 4, right? So I'll leave it at that. And I just want to thank you guys again for supporting my new channel. More videos to come. What videos you guys want to see, and I know discussions that you're gonna want to have, so I'm gonna bring it to you. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it if you can, and just be on the lookout. And peace and love, and you guys take care.